Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. I hit 1,000 subscribers today, and that was so exciting. If you haven't got a chance yet, please hit the subscribe button, and a thumbs up is always appreciated. Thank you to everybody for subscribing. Okay, today I want to do some not only really easy 4th of July projects, but really inexpensive. So I'm going to be using all items from the Dollar Tree. And these are going to be quick, fast, and easy. So I have this sign from the Dollar Tree. It has glitter all over the side of it. And with the frame there, it's not quite big enough for what I want to do. But I don't want to leave it like that on the back of my art. So I'm just going to use some of this cheap contact paper from Dollar Tree and the wood grain and just cover the back. It's a little extra, and you totally don't have to do this step, but it does make it look more like a finished product, and that's what I really like to do. So I just cut it a little bit larger than the back that I was trying to cover there, and it was fighting me a little bit, but I got it on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is just the back. This is just me being extra. And I'm just going to kind of push it down into all the creases and then just go in with an X-Acto knife and cut off the excess. It'll give me a nice clean back for this artwork project that I want to do today. So I'm going to use the back of it, and I just want to paint that ivory. So I'm going to use the Ivory Chalk Paint by Waverly. And the back of these signs are really easy to paint. It's probably, you can kind of see the brown peeking through a little bit, so it will probably require more than one coat, but I just cleaning up my mess there. That the chalk paint on my silicone mat comes off, but you kind of have to clean it up right away, otherwise it's going to be there forever because this chalk paint dries really fast. So I got a good coating. I'm just going to kind of do the edges too, just in case you can see that. I really like these signs. I think this was the last one that I had because they're thicker looking than the normal Dollar Tree signs because they have that extra frame around the edges. I have used them for other projects and I really liked how they turned out. So again, I'm going in with a second coat of that Ivory Chalk Paint so I can get full white coverage on this sign. And I needed a couple signs to decorate in my kitchen for the 4th of July. And so I thought I would use window clings and items I got at the Dollar Tree to make some really quick, easy crafts. So I'm just going to go over the surface of the sign now with some Mod Podge matte. And I'm going to use this great big decal from Dollar Tree that says One Nation. It's really colorful, it's really pretty, and I'm just smoothing that down, trying to get any air bubbles out, and then I'm gonna Mod Podge over the window decal to secure it to the sign. And this is such an easy way to make a wood sign and to decorate with. You don't have to have a Cricut, you don't have to have any special equipment. Just some of the decals from the Dollar Tree, and there's some really good ones this year. So I'm giving that Mod Podge a dry with my heat gun. Making sure that it is good and secure. I was trying to decide if I needed to go in with another coat of Mod Podge, and then I decided it's probably a good idea. So I'm going in with a second coat just to make sure. I don't want that decal to pop off the sign. I want it to be secured on there and to look like it is like part of the sign. And so I'm just giving it a dry. Now I thought it was a little plain, and so I decided to make it really, I think this makes them look kind of farmhouse, kind of just something extra. They're the wood half beads, and I get them on Amazon. And I actually have this size because I had them for another project and I didn't know how big they were going to be and they were way too big. So I was actually looking for a reason to use these. And so I'm just using my hot glue gun and I am just gluing down the corners, and then I'm going to kind of do the middle, and then I'm just going to kind of do a bunch of them at once and try to evenly space them. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but the look of the sign, you know, is rustic farmhouse. It's not supposed to look perfect. So then I'm just doing the other corners. And I'm going to do the same thing on the sides where I do the one in the center and then just kind of do in between the corner and the center and just kind of evenly space them. They're a little wider spaced out on the sides, which is fine. It's always a good idea though to lay them out in advance like this so you know exactly the plan and you don't end up like towards the end of a line and it won't fit. And so I'm doing the same thing there on all four sides. And I'm just using a very small dot of the hot glue just to secure them on there. They're not very heavy. And I'm really glad I added these wood half beads to the sign. It really made the sign like extra special. I'm just trying to clean up some of the strings of hot glue I got there, so that when I paint over them that it's not super obvious. So now I'm going to go in again with that ivory chalk paint by Waverly, and I am going to paint all of those half beads in the same ivory color. And I've used the smaller wood beads on another frame project, and I love how they turn out. They're really fun to distress because of all that texture that you're adding to the sign, and it really has a great finished product. So I'm just going in there with my brush and getting all the sides of all of those. Then I want to distress it. Now, I normally distress with antique wax, but I'm actually going to use Elephant chalk paint by Waverly because the background of the decal was distressed in gray. So I thought I would go with that. You could kind of see like on the One Nation that it was distressed in gray. So I thought it would be a good idea to kind of go in there and distress with the matching color. So I'm just going in with a dry brush, chunky brush with that gray paint and trying to get all the texture, and then going in with a baby white to wipe off any excess. Now, if you ever get too much of the dark color you're trying to distress with, you can always go in with the original color with the chunky brush as well. And that's what I'm doing here, and add some more ivory to some of the places that I thought were a little too dark. And you can kind of go back and forth until you get it exactly the way you want it. And I'm kind of distressing over the decal too, which kind of makes it even look, you know, more like hand painted on there. And that is all there is to it. I'm just going to add a hanger. I'm going to use some of this jute twine from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to make a hanger on the back of it. So I'm just cutting off a piece, and then I'm going to use my ruler to kind of figure out where I need to hang it, because I want to make sure that it hangs like center. And that's what I'm doing there, and I'm just going in with my stapler, tying a knot in the twine so it doesn't come loose, and then stapling those equal distances so that it'll hang like directly in the middle of the sign. And that sign is done. It turned out great, the One Nation sign. Okay, so I have 4 packages of these rulers from the Dollar Tree, and I thought these would be really easy to make an American flag out of. I even for a little bit thought about just using them as they are, because they are red and blue already with stripes, but I decided I didn't really want to go that route, so I am just peeling off the ruler parts on these And it leaves you with, it's flat on one side and it has like a little ridge on the other side, and then it also has the hole on one end. But they're super easy to peel off, these stickers, and it gives you a nice piece of wood for 50 cents a piece. Now, I had 4 packages here, and I'm kind of trying to decide how many I need, and I ended up only using 3 of the packages, which was 6 rulers. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out, I was thinking that if I use the extra 2, it was going to be more of a square and not really a rectangular flag shape. So I'm just kind of measuring and thinking about what I want my dimensions of my flag to be, and then I decided to ditch those 2 and just use the 3 packages. Then I'm trying to decide if I want the open circles to be on alternate sides or if I want them to be on the same side, and I determined that I wanted to put them all on the same side. And then I wanted to decide if I wanted to use like the flat side as the front of my sign, and that's what I ended up going with. So the back has these little notches that are sticking out, and that's what I'm applying the glue to. And then I'm just using some of these medium-size popsicle sticks to secure it together, just with hot glue. And over on the left, you'll notice that I covered up the openings on the rulers because I want to try to fill that in. I don't really want to leave that open like that. And I thought if I put the popsicle stick behind it, then I can just use some of this spackle from the Dollar Tree and just fill in those holes. And it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to go with like a rustic, farmhouse vibe for this flag anyway. So just a little bit of spackle in each one, and then that's all I'm going to do. And constructing this was super easy using the popsicle sticks. And again, those are the medium-sized popsicle sticks, and I got them at Walmart. They're not the great big ones. They're kind of in between, and they were the perfect length for this project. And then I'm going to use some of this painter's tape, and I am just going to mark off the quadrant up on the top left to do my blue part of my flag. And I am just going to paint that with the blue chalk paint. It's called Ocean by Waverly. And I'm just going to give that a good coating. This is the first time I've worked with the rulers from the Dollar Tree, and they're really good quality wood, and they're really easy to paint. And you can see how square they all are. They're all like exactly the right size. I guess because they're a ruler, huh? And then I'm just going in with my heat gun and giving that a dry. I was trying to determine if I needed to do another coat of the blue, but it looked pretty good, so I went with it. And then I'm going to use the crimson and the ivory chalk paint by Waverly to do the stripes. And I want to make sure that's really good and dry there before I put some tape over it. But I'm just going to tape that so that my stripes do not go onto that part of the flag. And I'm going to use this painter's tape to do the stripes. But first I thought it would be a good idea just to do the whole flag in the ivory color. That will cover up, the wood grain and be a good base coat for the red stripes as well. So that's what I'm doing here. Giving it a good healthy coat of the ivory chalk paint. And just speeding up the drying process on that. I love the chalk paint just because it's so fast to work with, and I get impatient waiting for the paint to dry for sure. So the combination of the fast drying paint and my heat gun gets me moving. Okay, so I want to get that really good and dry so that I can use my painter's tape to mark off the lines. And I'm actually going to do the stripes the same as the width of the ruler, and that is about the same as 2 of my pieces of painter's tape. So I am just putting both of those on there to mark off my lines I want to leave white. And I thought about doing more stripes, but I thought this would be the easiest way. And I just scraped that down with my Cricut, and I'm just doing my first light coat with that ivory chalk paint. And so if there was any bleeding, it would be the ivory paint that bleeds. My paintbrush broke, and I'm like, ooh, I can use the end of this for wood. I am definitely saving that. And then I'm going in with that crimson chalk paint to do my red stripes. And whenever I work with the crimson or the red, it's really hard to get like a good coverage. But I'm hoping that since I did the white first, that's going to help give us good coverage here. And it looks pretty good. I'm just going to make sure it's good and dry. And this is the most satisfying part when you get to pull off your tape and see all those pretty lines. And I did have a little bit of damage over there on my spackle, but I just touched that up with what's left of my paintbrush. And just removing all of the painter's tape to give me this red and white stripe with my blue quadrant. And since I'm doing these all like super easy, no Cricut or anything required, I'm actually going to put stars on there, but I am going to hand paint them with just a white paint pen. You can always use, the star stickers or whatever, or you can make a stencil. Since this is like a rustic farmhouse vibe, I think that the hand-painted stars actually kind of go with it more than if you had perfect stars on there. So I'm just going to I use just the wedge side and kind of the tip, and all I do is just draw a star. And then if there's any openings inside the star, I'll just fill it in. And I'm just kind of spacing out the top row. I don't do a very good job of spacing it. And I do realize that right about here where I'm like, okay, well, it's not supposed to look perfect. But what I'm going to do is just kind of alternate the stars the way they are on the flag. And I'm doing 2 rows of stars per ruler. And I am not good at hand painting things by far, but stars are pretty easy. And there we go. So we have an American flag. The last step that I want to do to this after I get it dry is I do want to distress it. I really like that. I have a coastal farmhouse vibe in my house, and I really like things to be distressed. And everything I'm doing today is like very farmhouse. So I'm going to use a dry brush, a chunky brush from Dollar Tree, and this Antique Wax by Waverly. And I like to go in on the edges. And then I kind of always want to kind of keep the same grain and then kind of go all over. I wanted my red stripes to be a little darker than they are, so I kind of went heavy on distressing the red stripes, and that kind of gave it a deeper color of red, which I was going for. And just kind of all over, and then I'm going to go back over with a baby wipe and wipe off anything that I think is a little excessive on the distressing. And that's all there is to it. Now I just need to make a hanger for my sign. And I want to make sure it's getting dry before I turn it over here. And I'm just going to use this twine from the Dollar Tree and attach it with my staple gun. The first one I did not make long enough, but I got another one here. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the last one. I'm just going to tie a knot and staple that to the back of my flag. And easy peasy, we have a ruler flag, and I think it turned out really cute. Oh my gosh. This project is so easy. So I got these little tile signs at the Dollar Tree, and this one was not even glued in. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll work it with it like that. The other one was glued in. Now, I'm going to use this Ivory Chalk Paint by Waverly to paint these white, but I'm not actually going to use that side of the sign. I like to turn them around and use the back so it's like a frame. So I'm just being extra here and painting the backs just because I like a finished product. Now, if I would have liked those signs for anything, I could have left it and then I could have had a two-sided sign. So there's always that option. And I am giving that a dry. And I love these. I have made several projects with these. I made a little sign for my B tier tray. I have some more. If I see any more, I will definitely pick them up because they are so easy to work with. I just absolutely love it. So this is the other side, and I'm just going to use one of these decals from the Dollar Tree, Land of the Free, and Mod Podge that on to the tile. And honestly, it cannot be any easier, and it turned out so cute. And I'm giving another coat of Mod Podge to make sure that decal is really sealed on there. And trying to get the other one, the back of it dry. I had a little bit too much chalk paint on there, I think. And I finally got it dry. So this is what, it looks like when you turn it over, which is a perfect little like shadow box frame. And so I'm going to put down a coat of Mod Podge there and use another one of the small decals from the Dollar Tree and just Mod Podge that on there. That one says Happy 4th of July. And I think these are so cute, and they were just absolutely a breeze to make. So if you want some 4th of July decorations and you're short on time, these projects are for you. And I'm just making sure that they are good and dry. I'm going to glue that tile back into its frame here in a second once I get it good and dry. And I'm just going in with a second coat of Mod Podge on that one as well. Just want to make sure that the decal is down and that it's not going anywhere. And you just have to do a very thin bead of hot glue to get that tile to stick in the frame. And that is all there is to that project. Isn't that easy? And they're so cute. And if you wanted to paint the frames, you totally can. But this like color of wood kind of goes with everything. So it's definitely not necessary. Okay. So I wanted to do a fun take on the stacked books by using actual books from the Dollar Tree. So I picked out a red, white, and blue book, not caring what they were, and some of these paper trays from the Dollar Tree in their 4th of July section. And I thought this was very Farmhouse. I loved the pattern on the little trays. And so I'm just kind of opening it and seeing what would fit on my top book. And then I'm just going to cut that out. And I thought that would be a cute cover on the top of the top book to give me a 4th of July vibe. I'm trying to decide if I want to use that top flap on there or where I want to actually, end my pattern. And I'm going to do, the red was my largest book. So I'm definitely doing that on the bottom. So I'm going to do the red, white, blue. Then I decide that it's too tall and I'm just going to use the main part. So that is the actual bottom of the tray. And I cut off all the flaps. Then I'm trying to decide if I have any of these decals that would fit on the sides of my books to change the titles. The titles were random and they didn't necessarily go with what I wanted for my decoration, but I could have totally left them. And I didn't even have to get the right color books because I end up painting them anyway. And I'm just going to kind of paint that with a little bit going over like a binding. Just so it'll look more finished for the top book. And I'm just using that Ocean Chalk Paint by Waverly. And then I am going to just Mod Podge that decal from the Dollar Tree onto the binding to make it look like a title. And it fits perfectly, Liberty. So I am going to get my Mod Podge and put on a thin coat and then just attach the decal and then Mod Podge over the top of it. So easy. These books turned out so cute, and honestly, they're so inexpensive and so easy for anybody to do. Now I'm just using Mod Podge on the back of that tray, and I'm just going to kind of center that on my top book and Mod Podge that on as well. And that gives a nice fun decoration for the top book. I like how that turned out. I really like that pattern. I have that pattern there in the decals as well. And it's very Farmhouse, very 4th of July. And I'm just drawing all that Mod Podge on the binding and on the cover until I get that pretty good and dry. Now, this was my white book. It's not all white, but the binding was white. And this one's going to be in the middle, so I'm just kind of painting the outside they're going to see just to cover up the title and the author that was on there. Just so I can put a decal on this one as well. And I want to make sure it's good and dry before I start Mod Podging. And this one says 4th of July. It's really cute. It's a little too big though, so I'm just going to trim it down to size so that it will fit. And I'm just going to Mod Podge that one on there. I'm kind of aligning the titles to the left side of the book so that I can tie them up on the right. So we have Liberty and 4th of July. That last book does say America, but I don't think I want all of the rest of it on there. So I don't really have any other words that are that small, but I'm trying to find another decal that I can use. And I'm just using that crimson chalk paint by Waverly to cover up everything except for America. I did leave America in the gold, which is very shiny, but it looks good. And it does take a couple coats of the crimson to cover up that gold foil on the side. And then since I didn't have any words, I did find a decal that had some stars on it that I thought would fit next to America. So I'm just cutting those out, cutting out how many will fit, and just putting that next to America. Just a little fun touch. I thought about doing that. I had more of those on the other side, but then the book really wouldn't be read, so I only did it on the left side. And just drawing the Mod Podge on there. And now I have my 3 Patriotic books. And I'm going to use some of this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree in the red chevron print. I love this. I think it's really cute. And I am just going to hot glue that together on the bottom to keep the book stacked together. And I have mine displayed laying down, but you could also display it like standing up too. They turned out really cute. Okay, next easy project. So this is just a wood block from the Father's Day section at the Target Dollar Spot for $1. And then I got this short arrow at the Dollar Tree and these 2 long arrows from the Dollar Tree. And there's my decals. Now, the short arrow was really easy because it had a hole with the twine. These I actually had to use pliers to get the staples off. They had 2 staples on each side and they were kind of small and hard to get to, but I was able to get that all off. And the reason I'm using the arrows is because I think they look like rockets, like for fireworks. And so that is my plan, is to make a little firework decoration. So I thought like I could have one firework go one way, another firework go the other way, have the smaller one possibly in the middle, But this one had holes in it, so I am filling that in with some spackling from the Dollar Tree so that that's not super obvious. And then I want to do one crimson, one ivory, and one ocean. And I was just trying to decide which one I want to do which. And this raw wood from the Dollar Tree, from the Crafter's Square, is like so easy to paint. Like one coat of chalk paint is definitely all you need on these. Quick and easy project. And I'm kind of going really thin coat on here because I'm trying not to get it like on the edges if I don't have to. So that one's crimson. This one is going to be ocean. And these are my two long arrows. And then I am going to do the short arrow in the ivory chalk paint. And I don't know why this project came to me. I did use a metal arrow to do a firework for my tier tray. So I have a bunch of these arrows, and so I thought this would definitely be a good opportunity to use them. So we have our red, white, and blue. I didn't really get any on the edges there, but I did get some on the edges of the blue one. So I'm just going in with my paintbrush and painting the sides on that one just because I kind of needed to. But I left the white and the red both natural because there wasn't any dripping on those. And cleaning my mat there so it's not stuck forever. And I don't think I need to do anything for the little Target dollar spot sign. Basically, I want to use that because it's a nice blocky sign, it's heavy, and I think it's going to help these rockets to stand up. Now, I want to decorate them, and so I have these decals from the Dollar Tree, and so I'm going to Mod Podge them on. I thought USA would be really good on this one. It's just about the right size. And so I'm just Mod Podging that to the white one. And that is going to be the rocket that I have on the front. And that's what I'm thinking about, just stacking them like that. In kind of a pattern. And there's some cute stars on this decal sheet. And I am just trying to cut out all of those that I can find to decorate the red and the blue rocket. Now, I thought about cutting them out and Mod Podging them on with the white background still on so they would be nice and bright. But then I decided it didn't really matter and they were really hard to cut out. So I just decided just to go with the decal and not the backing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start Mod Podging those stars onto my rockets or fireworks. And you don't really have to wait for it to dry because, you know, you're working with the plasticky decal. So it's not going to wrinkle like paper would. So you can go over like right away after you put the decal on there. So I'm kind of alternating the colors on the different signs. Trying to figure out where I need to have that star. And just Mod Podging those on to the blue rocket as well. And this is a very whimsical project. It was very easy, but it turned out really fun. And so I thought I would just stack them, kind of going different directions like that, and just glue those on to that block sign. And I'm just using a marker to kind of write where I need to glue that so that once you have the hot glue on there, you have to work pretty fast, and that's what I'm going to use to secure them all together. And I didn't wait for that to dry, so I was like, oh yeah, I might want to dry this one first before I start working with it. And I am putting down a whole bunch of hot glue and making the blue one go to the right like that. And then I want the red to veer off in the other direction, so I am drawing on there so I know where to place that one, and hot gluing that one on the same way. And I'm just stacking these as I go up. It makes it a very 3D effect to the final piece. And then I just need to hot glue on this white one. And I need a refill. I was testing the Dollar Tree hot glue, and I decided to switch back to some of my regular kind that I like. People have said bad things about the Dollar Tree hot glue, but it actually worked for the projects that I did use it for. And we have it all attached. Then I was thinking that there is actually room on the red and the blue rocket for more stars. And so I am looking on my decals to see if I can find a few more stars, and there were 2 more that I could fit on there. And so I'm just Mod Podging those on now, just to give it a more finished product. I didn't want it to look plain. I wanted it to look really festive. And just touching that up and then giving it a good dry for the second coat of Mod Podge. And I hadn't tested it yet to see if it was going to work. So I was like, oh, it works. It stands beautiful. So then to give it more of a farmhouse feel, I'm going to go in with a dry chunky brush and distress it with my Antique Wax by Waverly. Going around the edges and a little all over. And also distressing the red and the blue. Fireworks. And I love how this project turned out. It's not something that I would normally do, but it turned out very whimsical. It turned out very fun. And it was easy. Okay, final reveal time. Here is our One Nation sign that we made with the decal and the Dollar Tree sign with the beautiful wood half-bead detail. I love how that turned out. It's hanging on the side of my cabinets in my kitchen. And then right below is the flag that we made out of the Dollar Tree rulers. And I think this is so cute. I thought about adding a ribbon or some more details to it, but I think I love it just the way that it is. And here is our little tile signs that we made by Mod Podging the decals in there. Really didn't have to do anything. I painted the back, but just because I wanted to be a little extra. That Home of the Brave is from another DIY that I did. And here is our stacked books with Liberty, 4th of July in America. Very bright, very fun. And then behind those, we have our rocket display with USA there on the front. So what did you think about my super easy projects today? I wanted to do something that would be super easy that anyone could do with just your Dollar Tree products. And I think I might have pulled it off. If you haven't got a chance, if you could hit that thumbs up button, I'd appreciate it. And subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I was so excited to reach 1,000 subscribers today. It was fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone that has subscribed. And until next time, bye.